All right, well, that was an interesting night. There was certainly a lot of trades and a lot of movement. Certainly thought the board kind of fell like we thought, and it typically does in most first rounds. But needless to say, we're super excited to add two really good players and two guys that we can add to this defense and continue to grow that unit. And I think the cool thing about both Trent and George are, I think they're both 21 years old and young guys, a lot of upside, do things the right way, and like I said, just really excited to add them to our defensive unit.
Brett, what was specifically about these two guys that made them stand out for the spots you picked them?
Yeah, well, with our first pick, it's funny because every year we go through what we think are every scenario possible, and we didn't go over McDuffie's scenario. I don't think we thought he'd be there, and certainly some of the trades and even the player trades that happened today, I think, impacted that. But Trent's a guy that can come in here day one. I mean, he's wired the right way. Extreme, knowledge of the game. 3-year player, 3-year starter, and it was certainly a position that we wanted to address. And then you talk about George. I'm sure you saw his interview. This is a guy that didn't play a lot of football. Came on strong at Purdue. Another young guy that has a ton of upside, can play a little inside and outside for Steve, and relentless motor. And again, just a guy like Trent that's going to come in and be ready to contribute on day one.
You've tended towards bigger corners lately. Where does McDuffie fit in that?
Yeah, I think that they're hard to find. So I think that an easy thing for us is we start nitpicking all these things, and you don't want to lose sight on the talent and the player. But ideally, I mean, you're going to want a combination of everything, and those guys are far and few between. But again, can't say enough about Trent and how excited we are for him. And we're going to have a lot of fun, and I know Steve is, and we're just really excited to get him rolling.
That run on receivers that happened earlier in the first round, it was like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Like a 10-pick stretch. Did that kind of take you out of that game? Were you trying to get in the middle of that, or how did that work?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was. It was one of those drafts where I think for the most part the first 15, 16 picks were kind of the same on everybody's board, and it did kind of go in a different direction there after pick 15 or 16. But I think we projected that there would be that run there. We knew early on, though, and I kind of mentioned this in the pre-draft presser, that didn't anticipate a big swing just because we had a lot of picks, and we wanted to use them selectively and help put us in a position to get some good players, but also know that, I mean, we've had the ability to land a lot of talent in rounds 2, 3, and 4, and we didn't want to sacrifice all the opportunities to get players tomorrow and Saturday. So I think we were committed to being selectively aggressive, and if a player like a Trent McDuffie was there, hey, let's go make a little move and get him because he's really good. Probably wouldn't have been there at 29. We were surprised he was there when we selected him with New England's pick, but I think that was kind of our mindset going in, and we just followed the plan.
Rick, could you describe the circumstance of the trade-up and why you felt it was necessary?
Right. So I mean, obviously the Stingley and Sauce went high, and we had a grouping of corners there, and just knowing some of the team needs that were directly in front of us, and I believe Buffalo then did take a corner shortly after, and I believe they traded up a spot too, and so we knew that was coming, and we had called teams, I believe the pick before and the pick after the New England trade, just to put ourselves in a position, and we just, the way the board was falling, and knowing that we're picking real late in this draft here, and the odds of a guy like McDuffie being at 21, let alone 29, were very low. So we just thought it was the right time to make that move.
Andy sort of alluded to it, but how rare is it that your draft board and who the best available is on the draft board matches up so perfectly with what some of your biggest needs are on the roster?
Well, it is. I mean, that's a good point, because sometimes when you're going in there trying to address a specific position, and obviously, we wanted to add some depth on the defensive line, wanted to add depth in the secondary, it worked out. I would say that it's usually not the case, and we knew early on that there was good depth at the D-line position. The corner position was a little different for us because just going through the process, and again, something else I mentioned on the pre-draft presser, when you go through this process and you talk about how they'd be implemented in our scheme, and then you go through the interviews and the playbook stuff and the medical stuff. I mean, sometimes your numbers aren't as deep as you would believe, especially before the whole process starts. So we were a little bit concerned there that not picking until not picking until 29. McDuffie's definitely gone, and then depending on what you do there tomorrow, not till 50. We better just make our move now. And I think we were patient, and when we had the opportunity, we just made that move. But I mean, he was a guy that I don't think when the night started, if someone had asked me to make a prediction on your first pick of the night, I probably wouldn't have been the guy I picked. But again, we're just really excited to add him to the roster.
A little more on George. As you mentioned, he unique background. Probably didn't play football until high school, I suspect, just given his background. What did you guys like about him?
Yeah, young, relentless. He's a guy that's really dedicated to his craft, and all the people that we spoke to at Purdue just talked about how the best football's in front of him. And again, he had a water polo background, and being born in Athens and getting to come over here, late start to football, picked it up quick though. And I think one thing that is common in every one that you talk to about George is just his approach to the game and how important it is to him. And I certainly think that Coach Cohen and Coach Spags are going to be able to take him to the next level. And he's a guy that can play all along the line. And again, just the way his approach, the way he prepares week in and week out, and his upside was something that you're sitting there pick 30. I mean, that we felt that was good value there.
Brett, are there guys that these two remind you of?
I don't know. I have so many things going in my mind tonight. I mean, it's been a long night. I'm sure I have a couple guys, but I just know that they're two guys. They're going to come in immediately right away and help us, and both smart, both love the process, both love obviously the game. But I mean, these were easier picks for us because of, I mean, when you get talent plus work ethic and character like that, those guys rarely fail. I mean, these guys, their profiles are like Nick Bolton and Creed Humphrey, and good players do things the right way. They're kind of hard to pass up on.
How do you feel about the price for the trade-up? Is it fair?
Yeah, yeah.
And then when you had your draft board finally done, you were like 16, 18 first-round grades. Did either one of these guys fit in that first-round grade for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you make a move, you're going to do that for a guy that you have in that range. So, we were able to do that, and there's, again, there's every year you get 16, 18, names like that, and I think the fact that we were aggressive to some degree shows, kind of tipped your hand on what you thought of McDuffie, and we certainly thought he was one of those players, and that's why we made that move.
We'll go these two, then you two.
There seems to be two schools of thought in the NFL right now when it comes to receivers, like paying a receiver, going and trading lots to get him, or staying young. Obviously, that happened here with leading young. So, what do you make of that dynamic that's sort of developing, where certain teams are saying we want to invest in these guys, and others are saying no, let's sort of invest complete team other positions?
Yeah, listen, I think it's probably a case by case basis, and where you are with other contracts on your team, and obviously there'll be a lot of talk about the quarterback and their contract, and is he on the rookie deal, and can you be aggressive? And I think that certainly comes into play, and then where you are in futures with other contracts, and we had some players that were up there, and and that's a good thing because we have a lot of good players. But I think it's again being, and that comes around to the free agency process when you're surveying the landscape of where you pick, what receivers are available, and can you replicate that? And is this guy so unique that it doesn't matter how many picks you have, you can't find something like that? And I think every year it'll be different, and I think there are certainly years will be aggressive in free agency and be out in front, and there'll be some years like this past year where we're going to find the value in picks and building the roster on both sides of the football, and this was one of those years. And Still a lot of good players on the board, and we still have 2 twos and a 3 tomorrow. So, we're certainly excited about that. But I just think in general that question it's a little hard to answer because year by year it'll change based on where you are and what your future contracts look like.
Brett, with making the pick from McDuffie, how do you go through the process of saying, okay, how much do you want to anticipate maybe a team calling up for the 30th pick, sort of staying there, and just anticipating sort of the idea that, George is in front of you, but obviously sort of seeing how the rest of those picks play out before 30?
You're asking on the trade down at 30 while you're picking at 21? Was that your question?
No, after you make the pick
Yeah.
for McDuffie,
Mhm.
what's the thought process with you guys in the room about the 30th pick? Were there possibilities of maybe trading down, or how much are you sort of anticipating sort of George falling in that range for you guys?
Yeah, and that's exactly the point. So we had some calls, and then you're trying to sort of handicap. All right, well, if we trade this far down, are you going to have to just trade back what you just got to get back up in 2 or something very close? And then at the end of the day, is it worth it? So you're sitting there at 50, and we did take a call, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but we did that exercise, and we went, well, he's probably not going to be there that late. I think, it was something later, a combination of something. And then we kind of went through the math quickly that, well, we'll do that move, and then we'll have to, if we wanted a guy like this and more help at that position, you're going to end up potentially trading something to get back up again. And then you're on the risk of finding a trade partner, the guy still being on the board. And, we just felt good about Trent, and we felt good about George. And I think tomorrow, the board will get even crazier in regards to where teams, see their talent. But we went in and we wanted some defensive line help. We wanted corner help, and we got 2 really good players. And I think we didn't want to get too cute with it.
Herbie?
Brett, you take 2 defensive players in this first round. How do you go about balancing wants versus needs on the second day, especially including at the wide receiver position?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of picks, and I think we're mindful of that. But I think we're just gonna do our best to stay true to our board and the guys that are there. You feel like you always want to adhere to that mindset of staying to the board and taking the best players, but there's also, the known factor that you need some D-line help, you need some corner help. So it was very beneficial tonight to get 2 players that were highly ranked on our board at positions of need, and that allows us to continue to adhere to that mindset of just, hey, listen, if it's a wideout, if it's a lineman, if it's another corner, another D lineman, we need them all. Other than quarterback, we need somebody at some position right across the board. So I think this just allows for even more flexibility now to continue to, stick to that mindset.
Last one, Sam.
Right, you guys have built your cornerback rooms with late round draft picks,
Mhm.
like even an undrafted guy for a few seasons. Was it all to be swayed by the fact that you guys are doing something right in those later rounds and to continue to build the room that way?
Yeah, and look, we have 4 7th-round picks, so hopefully we can hit on another one of those guys. And again, I think I mentioned this a few days ago too. A lot of it's just the circumstance, and I think every team, just like tackles and pass rushers and corners. If you get a chance to take those guys, you take them. We've just been stuck in a situation where we're picking late and don't have a ton of extra money, so we have to be, selective, and we have to do a lot of work on the back end, and that's why the NFL is great. There's a price to pay for being good, and that's less money and picks that are further down the board, and you got to maximize those opportunities. And I think we do a good job. And you know how we operate. We love, as much as I love Friday, our staff loves Saturday, Friday and Saturday even more than Thursday. I guess I'm losing track of the days, but as much as we love Thursday, our staff loves Friday and Saturday even more. So this is when we have a lot of fun the next few days, and we're looking forward to it.
All right.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brett.
Yeah, thank you.